Hey everybody, thanks for watching. I want you to consider this scenario. Imagine you go into the kitchen to bake a cake, and when you open the pantry to gather the ingredients, you find an incredible coincidence. The exact ingredients that you need are sitting on the shelf in perfect order. The recipe calls for 1.5 cups of flour, and you just happen to have exactly 1.5 cups of flour on the shelf. The recipe also calls for 1 cup of white sugar, and you happen to have exactly 1 cup of white sugar. The recipe also calls for butter, eggs, vanilla, baking powder, and it just happens that you have all of those ingredients in the exact proportions in the right order to make the cake. When you take all the ingredients into the kitchen, you find that the oven is already set to the exact temperature and the exact cook time that you need to bake the cake. This is all a very convenient coincidence. It would seem like it was your destiny to bake a cake. This situation is obviously absurd and impossible, but it's a good analogy for our own existence. The universe just happens to have the perfect ingredients in a perfect order, in perfect proportions for our existence. In science, this is a principle called the Anthropic principle. Britannica defines the Anthropic principle like this. Indeed, it appears that many features of the universe that are necessary for the evolution and persistence of life are the results of unusual coincidences between different values of the constants of nature, quantities such as the mass of the electron, the strength of gravity, or the lifetime of the neutron. The significance, if any, of these coincidences is not understood. What is understood is that if these quantities were slightly altered, then no form of complexity or life could exist in the universe. We now know that there is very little flexibility in the order of the universe. If the laws of nature were modified even in the slightest ways, we wouldn't be here to talk about it. Caleb Scharf explains some of the details of this principle in a paper written for the Scientific American. He says, certain fundamental constants of nature appear fine-tuned in a way that causes the underlying properties of the universe to be balanced, near a boundary that enables Earth and its life to exist. A little too far to either side, and the nature of the cosmos would be radically different. Tweak the relative strength of gravity, and either no stars form, no heavy elements are forged, or huge stars form and are quickly gone, leaving nothing of any import in their wake, no descendants, no pathway to life. Similarly, alter the electromagnetic force, and the chemical bonds between atoms would be too weak or too strong to build the diversity of molecular structures that allows such incredible complexity in the cosmos. So how do we explain such an unusual coincidence? Dr. James Schober, an observational astronomer, acknowledged that there are only a few possibilities. He says, if the universe has those properties which allow intelligent life to develop within it at some stage in its history, then one of the following must be true. 1. There exists one possible universe designed with the goal of generating and sustaining observers. 2. The universe is a fluke, a random object, and we are just lucky it turned out with the right conditions. 3. The universe is not fine-tuned, quite the opposite. Life conditions are very rare, but life is robust. Plus, there can be other forms of life besides carbon-based life. 4th, an ensemble of other different universes is necessary for the existence of our universe. 3 of the 4 possibilities can be dismissed for obvious reasons. To suggest the universe is just a fluke is a lazy way of ignoring the question. Secondly, to claim that the universe is not fine-tuned and life could exist in other forms is to deny reality. The universe and life only exist in these forms. There is no alternate form of life. Finally, to claim that our universe is just one of many universes is not based on any evidence whatsoever. It's not actually a scientific position. It's really an anti-theological position that tries to push God out of the picture. This position also ultimately circles back to the same lazy reasoning, that you're just lucky to exist in a universe that allows for the development of life and intelligence. The first and most obvious explanation for this situation is that the anthropic principle is not a coincidence at all. In order for you to exist, God must exist. We can see the fingerprints of God all over the universe, and God expects us to respond to this evidence. He speaks to us through His creation, and He expects us to listen. And if we won't listen, God says there'll be consequences. Romans chapter 1, verses 18 through 20. For the wrath of God is revealed from heaven against all ungodliness and unrighteousness of men, who by their unrighteousness suppress the truth. For what can be known about God is plain to them, because God has shown it to them. For His invisible attributes, namely His eternal power and divine nature, have been clearly perceived ever since the creation of the world in the things that have been made, so that they are without excuse. Some people will say, well, if God is real, why doesn't He just show Himself? In fact, He does. He has created you and me to live in a universe that is obviously centered around our existence, and this reality demonstrates His existence. Thanks for watching.